I need you to stop for a second because that number you just heard, 228, is designed to make you think it is already over. It is not. That number, the votes to advance impeachment articles in the House, is big. It is more than half the chamber. It looks decisive. It looks final. But here is the truth. Advancing articles is not the same as voting to impeach, not even close. That distinction is where this entire story lives. That is the gap that everyone is missing, and it is the gap that is about to tell us exactly how fragile this whole process really is. Let us unpack what just happened. The House Judiciary Committee spent days, weeks even, drafting the articles of impeachment. Every allegation, every reference to evidence, every legal phrasing painstakingly reviewed. On Tuesday, they officially submitted the articles to the full House. Leadership immediately scheduled a vote to advance the articles to the next stage, essentially the procedural green light to move them forward. That vote took place this past Wednesday, and the final tally read 228 to 207. Every Democrat voted yes. 10 Republicans joined them. That is the headline, and it looks like a strong majority. But the headline hides the pressure building inside the Republican conference, pressure that Donald Trump cannot ignore. Let us look closely at the 10 Republicans who broke rank. 3 of them are retiring. They have no concern for political backlash in future elections. 4 of them represent districts Trump lost in 2024. Their calculus is different. They are playing defense in their own seats. 2 represent districts he barely won, with margins under 3 points. That is territory where every vote counts and every constituent matters. And then there is the committee chair, the one vote that stings because it signals something deeper. The institutional Republicans, the people who understand the inner workings of Congress, are starting to calculate risk differently. They are no longer simply towing the line because of party loyalty or fear of the base. They are calculating strategy, weighing the long-term implications of alignment with Trump versus alignment with the institution. That is the real story. And here is the timing of how it all unfolded, because timing is everything. Monday, articles drafted. Tuesday, Trump announces a rally in a key battleground state. Wednesday, the rally takes place. Trump calls the impeachment process a witch hunt. He warns that any Republican who votes yes is done politically. Thursday, the vote happens anyway. 228 advance the articles. But the real story lies in what occurred overnight between Wednesday night and Thursday morning. That is when the narrative flips. 3 members who were expected to vote no switched to yes. The change did not happen on the floor. It happened behind closed doors. Public reporting suggests that a private briefing occurred Wednesday evening in a classified setting, attended only by Intel committee members. No phones, no leaks allowed until after the vote. The vote pattern, however, tells us that something in that briefing shifted positions. It was not political posturing. It was evidence-based. It was convincing enough to move people who were previously dug in. And that matters. Evidence like that does not come lightly, and when members flip after a closed-door intel briefing, it is a signal. It is a message to everyone watching. This is not about politics. It is about reality. Now let us talk about the math, because Trump cannot afford mistakes here. In the full House, 218 votes are needed to impeach. Democrats currently hold 212 seats. They need at least 6 Republicans to join them to reach the majority. On the vote to advance the articles, 10 Republicans broke rank. That is 4 more than the minimum needed for passage. If those 10 hold through the final vote, impeachment passes easily. If even 7 hold, it passes. That means Trump's challenge is not just to rally the base, it is to flip at least 5 of those 10 back to no. And he has roughly 10 days to make that calculation work. 10 days is not long in congressional terms, especially when every phone call, every fundraiser, and every threat of primary backlash counts. Pillar 2 is the procedural framework. Advancing articles is step 1. The next step is floor debate, where the articles are read aloud in their entirety. Every charge, every piece of evidence, Every witness reference will be on C-SPAN in prime time for hours. Republicans cannot hide. Members cannot claim ignorance. Every vulnerable member will be on display, their votes scrutinized by constituents, by donors, by media. After debate, the floor vote occurs. A simple majority is required to impeach. If the vote passes, the articles go to the Senate for trial. Step 3. Each step is a pressure point, and each step increases the stakes. Pillar 3 is credibility. This is not a partisan stunt. 3 flips after a classified briefing suggest cause and effect. Something concrete, something credible moved members. That is not coincidental. It is systematic. And it changes the calculus for those who are observing quietly, those who have not yet committed. Evidence, not rhetoric, drives behavior in these scenarios. The weight of documented intelligence is often more powerful than the loudest rallies. Let us now examine the signals inside the Republican conference. Leadership is desperate to hold the caucus together. They are offering procedural off-ramps, censure instead of impeachment, investigations instead of articles, anything to avoid forcing vulnerable members into a full vote. But the 10 who just flipped are not biting. Why? Because they have already made the decision. They have already taken the political heat from their base. They are playing a different game now. They are thinking long-term. They are thinking about swing voters, about general election survival, and about the districts they represent. In many cases, those swing voters outnumber the base in their districts, and that shifts their incentives. Here is where it gets even more interesting. There is a fourth group, about 12 Republicans who voted no on advancing the articles but are privately signaling that they might vote yes on the actual impeachment. Why the split? Advancing articles is procedural. It does not commit them to a final vote. It is a way to say, let us hear the case. Voting to impeach is final. This provides cover. It allows members to claim that they were open-minded, that they took evidence into consideration, and that their ultimate decision is based on what they saw, not politics. If even half of this group follows through, we could see 220+ votes to impeach. That is a robust margin, not a squeaker. Trump knows this math. He is not unaware of the numbers or the implications. Delay is his play. If he can push the floor vote past the upcoming recess, members will return home, face their constituents directly, and feel the heat from rallies, phone calls, and local pressure. Some may fold under that pressure. That is the strategy. The problem for Trump is that House leadership does not want delay. They want to move this forward before the end of the fundraising quarter because prolonged uncertainty depresses donations. Donors do not write checks in the middle of chaos. Leadership wants certainty. Trump wants leverage. And the 10 who flipped are the tiebreaker. Their decisions will determine whether the vote happens now or later. There are a few key indicators to watch in the coming days. Indicator 1, will the Monday floor debate be postponed? If yes, Trump gains. If no, he loses that lever. Indicator 2, will any of the 10 Republicans who flipped walk back their support before the final vote? Even 2 walking back could collapse the math. Indicator 3, will any content from the classified intel briefing leak before the floor vote? If that happens, members waiting for cover suddenly have it, and the floodgates could open. Indicator 4, will the Senate indicate how they would treat a trial? Public statements from Senate leadership will influence House Republicans. If the Senate says it will take the trial seriously, it gives cover to vote yes. If the Senate dismisses it as a waste of time, it gives an excuse to vote no. These 4 variables together are the real pressure points. Now let us project what happens if the House vote passes. The House impeaches. Articles are sent to the Senate within 24 hours. A trial is required. The Chief Justice presides. 67 votes are required for conviction and removal. Republicans hold 53 Senate seats, Democrats 47. That means 20 Republican senators would need to flip to remove Trump. Everyone knows that is not happening. The Senate is largely a symbolic stage. The real consequences are political, procedural, and long-term. There are 3 reasons the House impeachment matters, even if removal is unlikely. Reason 1, It puts every senator on record. Campaign ads write themselves. Reason 2. It triggers automatic investigations. Financial records, communications, witness depositions, all of it becomes public. Reason 3. It fractures the party ahead of the 2026 elections. Primary challenges will increase, donor splits will deepen, and base chaos will intensify. The party will spend the next 18 months at war with itself. That is the real consequence. The Senate outcome may be predictable, but the political fallout is unpredictable and potentially severe. That is why Trump is fighting so hard. He is not concerned about impeachment itself. He is concerned about control of the party. Losing control would mean losing influence, resources, and the ability to shape the 2026 playing field. Control of the base, control of messaging, and control of party infrastructure are what he is defending. There is also a procedural cliffhanger yet to come. A procedural vote on whether to allow amendments to the articles is scheduled for Sunday night in a closed session. If amendments are allowed, moderates can water down the charges, making them easier for members to support and harder for Trump to fight. If amendments are blocked, the articles stand as written, full strength, all or nothing. That vote could be closer than the one just passed because some of the 10 Republicans who flipped may vote in favor of amendments to gain cover for a yes vote on final passage. Democrats themselves are divided. Progressives want no amendments, moderates want flexibility. That decision will be made in roughly 72 hours, and it could decide whether this impeachment moves forward or dies. What you are watching this weekend are private donor calls, leadership texts, intel leaks, and Senate signals. Any one of these could flip the dynamic entirely. That is why this story is far from over. The math, the procedure, the credibility, and the procedural votes are all interlinked. The next 72 hours could determine the trajectory for months. To summarize the pillars holding this whole process up, Pillar 1, math. 218 votes are needed. Democrats hold 212. 10 Republicans broke on advancement. Potentially 12 more may follow on the final vote. The numbers, if they hold, favor impeachment. Pillar 2, procedure. Advancement is step 1. Debate is step 2. Reading the charges aloud, witness references, and evidence in prime time is pressure. Step 3 is the final vote, and that sets the stage for the Senate. Pillar 3, credibility. The intel briefing moved votes. That is real, substantive, and evidence-driven. It matters more than rallies, tweets, or poll-tested messaging. Members respond to evidence, and that evidence exists. Pillar 4, leverage. The procedural vote on amendments allows moderates to create cover. The Senate signals will influence House Republicans. Leadership and donor pressure are simultaneously applying counterforces. Timing, messaging, and incentives all converge in a highly dynamic system. Everything is in motion. The 228 votes to advance articles are only the first piece of the puzzle. The 10 Republicans who flipped are the linchpin. The 12 additional Republicans signaling potential yes votes on the final impeachment are the secret force. Procedural votes, intel leaks, and Senate guidance all serve as accelerants, and the strategic calculations of Trump, his base, and the party leadership define the playing field. This is what the story actually is. Not a headline, not a soundbite. A complex interlocking set of pressures, signals, and incentives that will shape the trajectory of American politics for the next 18 months. The floor vote is just the first visible step. What follows will determine not only whether Trump is impeached, but how the Republican Party functions, how donors behave, and how voters respond in swing districts. So, if you want to know what happens next, you need to be paying attention to those procedural votes, to the intel signals, to the decisions of the 10 Republicans who flipped, and to the 12 additional members quietly weighing their final position. This is not over. This is not a foregone conclusion. And every single action in the next 72 hours could dramatically alter the outcome. The headline, 228 advance impeachment articles, is a milestone, not a conclusion. The story lives in the details, the math, the procedure, the credibility, and the leverage. Watch carefully, because this is the real battle, not the vote itself. The vote is just the first domino. What follows will be far more consequential. And here is the cliffhanger. Will the 10 hold? Will procedural amendments be allowed? Will intel leaks change the calculus? Will Senate signals create cover for House Republicans? Every one of these elements matters, and the next 72 hours will show the true trajectory. One misstep, one unexpected flip, one leak, and everything changes. That is why this is the story you cannot ignore. This is the fight for control of a party, for credibility, and for power. And it is happening right now, in plain sight, yet hidden in the interlocking details that only careful observation reveals.